Hello, everybody. This is the Stronghold podcast, and I'm here with Tiffany. No chill, Tio.
Hi, Lucas.
How are you, Tiffany?
I'm good. You?
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. By the way,
Yeah,
I
I'm
really
glad to be
appreciate
here.
it.
Yeah.
Let's talk some MMA. I mean, she's the #1 contender in which weight class is it? I always get the one
Straw weight.
Straw weight.
Yeah.
So yeah, because in one.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing.
Yeah, I always get it
'cause
confused.
There's like a range for the weight. So a straw weight is I think 52 to 56.7. So you have to make weight anything within that range.
So say it again. 50.
52 kg to 56.7.
So and you're not allowed. You have to do the hydration test
Yeah, you
as
have to
well,
pass
right?
the hydration test.
So how
it's
much weight do you actually end up typically cutting for your?
About 1.5 to 2 at most.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, damn,
Because
that's not
anything
bad.
more than that, you're going to feel hydration from my experience. Yeah.
And are they pretty strict
Yeah.
about that? How many times do you have to do the hydration?
Twice. So you have to, let's say the fight is on Friday, you have to weigh in on Wednesday and Thursday. Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you fail the weigh in or if you fail hydration, you have to do it again on fight day.
Did you fight in the old days when you could just cut as much as you wanted?
Yeah. I
How
did.
much were you cutting
so
then?
That was the funny thing. I was fighting at a heavier weight back then.
You were fighting heavy,
Yeah.
so you still were cutting probably the same amount.
I wasn't cutting much. I was fighting at 61 and I was walking around like 63 or so. But I was just too lazy to make like 57. And
Yeah.
there were no goals at that weight back then. And there's no way I'm making 52. I'm like too big for that weight.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you fought before. Did you ever cut weight like the old school style?
Yeah, when I was doing like boxing.
How did
doing
you
my amateur
feel
days, it
like that?
sucks,
Yeah,
it
it's
sucks.
terrible,
Yeah,
right?
I've done like 8 to 10 kg cuts. I'm like,
Yeah, that's
why
brutal.
am I doing this? I'm not getting paid for this.
I know. For my last
Yeah.
fight, I did about 12 kilos, right, Charmaine? Something like that. Yes. About 12 kilos, and it was fucking awful, dude. I was such an
Yeah.
asshole to her. Like, I was just,
Yeah,
the whole
it
life was
happens.
miserable. Yeah, we got in an argument about fucking mangoes, which is just so stupid.
You can't cut the mangoes this way.
Nice.
Oh my God. And I'm just like sucked in like this. I can barely, because I normally walk around
Snappy.
it. Yeah, snappy.
It sucks, yeah.
And you're
Yeah, I don't-
dieting
I
for
don't
a
miss it at
month.
all.
And the
Yeah.
training sucks too because you're just so depleted.
During training, you just feel like you're not like 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also a little psychological too because when you're cutting weight and then you're training, like, when you're 2 or 3 weeks before the fight, you're supposed to be peaking.
Yeah.
You're supposed to feel like, okay, the energy levels
you
are
feel
getting
good
good.
and
I
all,
want to
yeah,
fucking
feeling
start
strong
ripping
and
the.
all.
Yeah, but then when the weight cut comes,
Yeah, that's
and
the-
then you one round on
yeah,
pads and
yeah.
you're fucking dead, and then you're
Guessing
like,
and
oh
like-
no, what is this? And you don't know, like, is it the diet or am I just in shit shape?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
what?
It's like self-doubt and all, right?
Yeah, the self-doubt kicks in, and then you're just like, why am I here? What am I doing? This is a
It's
terrible.
like, am I ready for this? Like, what am I
Yeah,
guessing on
exactly.
right now?
So you,
Yeah.
man, I gotta say, your last 2 fights, I mean, you've got to be you're the highest ranked Singaporean fighter globally in the world, I would say.
I think so.
You gotta
I
be.
didn't really check on like.
I mean,
the
you have
polish.
to be, right? Because
Yeah, there's no other Singaporean
I mean,
fighters.
Amir Khan's doing good work, but he's still had some losses and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in terms of the global rankings, you got to be the highest. You're certainly the highest ranked in one. Even according to one's rankings, you're the #1 contender, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm the top contender in the one strawweight
You
ranking.
had some great last fights, dude.
Yeah,
2
kinda-
fights ago, Michelle
yeah.
Nicolini, that was an excellent fight. And then what was that Japanese girl's? Ayaka
Ayaka Miura.
Miura.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through
Yeah.
that fight because I was watching it.
Everyone got a heart attack in the first
Dude,
round,
everyone got a
right?
heart attack
Yeah.
because everybody knew she's
Yeah.
got that scarf hold.
Yeah, that's like her signature move.
Yeah, that was her.
Yeah, we were really prepared for that because we knew that she's a one-trick pony. That's all she has. She's gonna like try to take you down and in that position, try to arm lock or kimura. Like, that's the signature move. So Major, he prepared me for the whole. Like he prepared me out of like the bad positions. So I mean, having Major on top of you in that position is like, against Ayaka, I'm like, nah, I've been through worse.
and I'm guessing
Yeah.
knowing Major because he loves to game plan that you were probably in that position during training a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Like against Major,
Fighting
is
your way out of
always
that.
in that position.
Major
yeah.
sitting his fat ass
Yeah.
on you now.
Yeah.
Listen,
And also,
I know Major when he was 65 kilos.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a different Major now. Yeah.
Yes, talking a little shit about Major on the podcast.
Yeah. So I was prepared for that situation, but that wasn't ideal. Like the whole game plan was to keep my distance and don't even get there. But yeah, I guess I just have this. I don't know. It's just like my nerves. I guess I just got into like the worst case scenario every time in the first round. Same with Michelle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Major was telling me that. He's like,
Yeah.
every time Tiffany
Yeah,
gets me a
yeah.
heart attack because she always gets in exactly where I don't want her to
Yeah.
get. In the first round when her opponents are fresh.
Yeah, that always happens.
I went over to visit him. So this is the second podcast I've done since we were able to like kind of come back to work, right?
Yeah.
And then I think we opened up on the Friday, right? Last Friday is
Yeah,
when we were
last
allowed to go to
Friday.
gyms.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
was it the Friday or was it the Saturday we went to visit Major?
We went on the
So the next day, we went over to see Major and everything, and he was saying that to me. He's like,
Nice.
because we watched some of the fights, and he's like, Tiffany just can't get out of any fight without having a fucking heart attack.
Yeah. I always do that to him. It's like after the fight, he was like, "Why do you have to do that? Why do you have to get in the worst case scenario in the first round?"
And you got your purple belt after that fight. So congratulations for that.
Thank you, thanks.
But even that girl, she's good, man. What was her record going into that?
I think she was like 9-1 or something.
Yeah, I mean, she was good.
Yeah, she's good. She was like on a 3 or 4 fight winning streak. Yeah.
Yeah, and that style is hard to deal with because not a lot of people are doing that. So 1st of all, you're dealing with a somewhat esoteric position and style. Not a lot of people are going to the scarf hold side control, right? It's not something you see a lot.
Yeah.
And she's an expert at not only getting controlling that position, but getting there. Because she manages to get that position on pretty much
Almost
everybody
every
she fights.
time. I mean, I think that's the only way she wins, Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just wore on her and then beat her down toward the end. You finished her with 15, 20 seconds left or something?
About 10, 15
Yeah,
seconds
and then come the third
left.
round, you were just starting to beat her down. That shit wasn't working anymore. And
Yeah. Yeah, after that second round, she's like, "Oh, it's not working anymore."
yeah. But she still didn't have a backup plan.
That was the only way, That's the
Yeah.
only way she knew. Yeah.
And I talked to Major even about your fight with Nicolini, and it's the same thing. You're dealing with a specialist, right?
yeah.
I mean, she's a 8-time IBJJF world champion, but she's a specialist at that one thing. And one thing that was really interesting, and I know Major because Major and I talk MMA all the time, is that he's really good at getting his people ready tactically, which is what a lot of people lack nowadays.
Yeah, he's like the mastermind behind
Yeah,
all the game planning.
even if you watch
Yeah.
Angela Lee's fight with Michelle, I mean, there were a lot of just really bad tactical errors she did in that fight.
Yeah, I know, right? When I watched the fight, I was like,
What were your thoughts on that? I'm sure you watched
I was
it.
like, dang, I give you the game plan to fight Michelle.
Yeah, exactly.
I fought Michelle before her. That's the game plan to go against Michelle. I felt like she had the tools to win Michelle. And I feel like if they went a second time, Angela will probably win. Yeah.
I mean, she was doing just some silly stuff. Like she was jumping in her guard.
Yeah, she was like,
She would get on top, escape, and then go back into
it seems
her
like she
closed
was
guard.
eager to prove like she's okay on the ground.
That's not the move.
Yeah.
That's not the move.
Yeah, probably too emotional. I know.
Yeah. Especially when they grappled before, and then Michelle beat her
Yeah,
in grappling.
yeah.
Like all you got to do to beat her is just not
Just
go to
keep
that
it standing,
pure
Yeah.
Not even that, right? But MMA jiu-jitsu, like when you fought
Yeah, MMA
Michelle,
grappling.
right? It's like, dude, if I can roll with world champion black belts, and if I slap hand, fist bump jiu-jitsu, then they're gonna fuck me up.
Yeah, for sure.
But if it's
yeah.
MMA jiu-jitsu and you have to get
Yeah.
takedowns and there's punches, it's like then there's other
It changes
areas
the game. Yeah.
that you can
Yeah.
win. And so tactically she was just making some huge mistakes. But I know after training with Major personally and then watching how you guys train and him talking to me that he has a very specific plan.
He's a nerd.
Yeah, he's a fucking nerd. He's an MMA
Yeah,
nerd.
yeah.
But that's what you want.
Yeah, he
'Cause-
breaks everything down, like the layers of defense, the worst case scenario, to the best case scenario. So you're prepared for every situation that you'll get into.
So what was the plan going into? Let's go to the Michelle Nicolini fight. What was the game plan going? Of course, stay out of her basic jiu-jitsu, right? Stay out of her.
So keep it standing, and we knew that she's gonna go for the takedown, and just keep my range,
wrestling, I assume.
Yeah, anti-wrestling, so just defend the takedown, a few punches and move. You don't get too excited, to bum rush into a range. Yeah, so yeah, just layers, I guess. There's keeping my longest range, and if she gets close, using my frame to keep her away. And the worst case scenario, if she gets in tight with the takedown, to defend the takedown. Yeah.
So what were your thoughts actually sort of when you got into those grappling exchanges? You could feel her on you because, a lot of people tend to think of these,
Yeah.
I'm from a jiu-jitsu background and you've done jiu-jitsu. So a lot of people tend to have this ideal about these world champion black belts that they're in their head. They're so fucking good that they can't be touched. Meanwhile, you're a blue belt at the time.
Yeah, I was a blue belt.
You
back
go
then.
in and then you can win some of these grappling exchanges, get up, get away. What did you think when you actually got to the point where you're touching her, you're grappling? Because your name is somewhat ironic because it's no chill, but you're very chill under pressure, right? Because in all of these fights, you get in bad
you stay
positions,
calm,
but you do chill and you don't
Yeah,
freak out, right? Panic.
So it was quite interesting when Michelle first got to Mount. My first reaction was like, oh, she's not throwing punches. It's not that bad. All right, let's try to escape now. Because I think she's just not used to the MMA aspect of grappling. Her first instinct is to go for the sub, go into a dominant position and to work towards a submission. I felt like she wasn't throwing much punches, even though she had the chance to, to do ground and pound and stuff like this. Yeah, so I just focused. I didn't have to worry about the punches. So I just focused on defending and just trying to get off that position. Yeah.
And she had. So that's interesting, I guess, right? It's if you're gonna have an MMA fight, you always want to fight the grappler.
Yeah,
You don't want to
yeah,
fight the Muay Thai guy, the person who's
Yeah,
got
it sucks.
ruthless ground and pound who's going to
Yeah.
punch your fucking skull in.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you want to get choked, or you want to get caught in a submission
Yeah,
or something
yeah,
like that. So that's always the interesting thing about
Mm-hmm.
fighting these grapplers. It's like, even if you lose, it's like, okay, you got choked, you tap out or something.
Yeah. It's not like big damage. or,
Yeah,
like,
but
any
you don't want to
serious
fight like
injuries.
Khabib
Yeah.
or someone who's just
Yeah,
gonna.
fuck that.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
just gonna punch your head.
Yeah.
And this is the weird thing about these high level jiu-jitsu people going in,
Uh-huh.
right? Is that they're so focused on the submission that they'll miss something like even punching
just-
into the
yeah,
submission or
yeah.
ground and pound
Yeah.
into the submission.
I guess it's just like kind of muscle memory. They're so used to it, being a specialist in that sports. So they're just so reliant on, using their subs. I guess it's habit, I guess. Yeah. And it's like high percentage for them.
Trade-off, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you do you hyper specialize, or do you take a more general approach to training? Because if you take a general approach, if you want to box and you want to do Muay Thai
Mm-hmm.
and you want to wrestle and you want to do your no gi, then you're going to sacrifice like your gi or whatever.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
if you're a specialist and you go in, you can maybe have some success there. But when you get somebody who's got adequate defense,
Mm-hmm.
or they're good about, like in your case, getting out of those bad positions and training yourself in those bad positions to escape,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like with Ayaka Mori, how do you say?
Miura.
Miura.
Yeah, Miura.
What about that fight? What was your thoughts going into that? You had to avoid those positions, but like,
Yeah, so round
what
one.
did it feel when you're there?
Yeah, I was like, oh fuck, here we go again.
Here we go again.
Yeah, I was like, all right, I got caught like in the worst case scenario in the first round again. I'm like, all right, let's do this. Yeah. So honestly, it was pretty tight. They hit the arm choke. Yeah, so it was starting to
Dude,
tighten
you
up.
were fucking out. Dude, your head was red. Like, I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
You're tough as hell though, 'cause you did not back down for a second. I mean,
Yeah.
she was even punching you and shit from there too, and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, so it was getting tight, and then I was like, nah, I'm not gonna tap to this. Fuck this. I'm not gonna. Yeah. So I just held on, and she kind of loosened the arm triangle. So that's when I could start to work my defense. Yeah. So I managed to create some space, and I just. I just worked my way out of it. Yeah, and Major was like in the corner, like just because she likes to go for the kimura, especially when you don't connect your hands. So that's when she tries to go for the kimura. Yeah, so so they were like consciously remind me, like my corner. They were telling me, oh, keep your hands connected and all. So
Is there a particular point where you kind of felt the tide turning? Did you like hit her with a shot? Obviously, like halfway through the fight,
I feel
you
like
started
second
to-
round, the start of second round, she kind of like gave up, like mentally. Like she's like, oh fuck, that's my best move, and I can't, that's the only thing I have, and I can't tap her with that because she was trying so hard for that in the first round, and I feel like she was kind of mentally defeated, but at the start of the second round. Yeah, I feel like it's the same thing with Michelle. So the first round is like, she couldn't tap me, and she's like, oh fuck, like, I can't tap this girl. So it kind of like fuck with them mentally, I feel. Yeah.
I mean, you're very durable, and you don't give up, right? You push
Yeah.
even through the end of the fight, and then because at the end of that third round, and once you start just putting the pressure on, if her stuff like her A game doesn't work when she's fresh,
Yeah, it
it's
wouldn't work when you're like
Yeah.
tired as
damn sure not gonna work when you're tired as fuck.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess the next logical fight for you is the champ, right? Zhang
Yeah,
Jinan.
yeah, Zhang Jinan Panda.
Have a
yeah.
rematch with her.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about that yet?
So they haven't like offered me any official fight, but they have been talking about it. So they've been posting on like online about a possible rematch, but they didn't offer me like a title fight or anything. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts going into that fight? I mean, you guys fought once already.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts about that fight? I guess.
Oh, that was such an ugly fight. So I went back to watch. Like honestly, I watched that fight recently. So I feel like I have changed a lot as a fighter compared to the fighter I was back then. That was like
2 years
3
ago?
years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
almost about more than 2 years ago, I think. And also that camp, I wasn't with Major. I decided to go to Tiger to finish my camp. And yeah, there was just so many things going on during that fight. It was a short notice fight. So I think I fought in November, late November, and they just hit me up and told me, oh, there's this title fight. They want to do it in, I think it was in January if I wasn't wrong. So I flew to Tiger in December for my camp. It was a very short camp, like a 5 weeks camp. Yeah, there were just so many things going on during that camp. I fell sick during the camp, and my ear just blew up. I had cauliflower ear during the camp, and it's just a lot of things. And
How many weeks did you have to train for that? You said it's short notice, right?
yeah, I think it was like 4 or 5 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
So, yeah, that wasn't ideal. Yeah, and also from that fight, I've learned that, I'm not going to take any short notice fight. That's just, I feel like I need the preparation to get myself ready. And just, there was like a lot of adapting to a new environment, new training partners, new coaches, because Major wasn't there with me. So there's a lot of adaptation and, yeah, so, and I feel like I was a different fighter during that fight. Like, I feel like I didn't understand MMA that well back then, and I was kind of I wasn't a well-rounded fighter. Like I was like still learning a lot of things about the sport of MMA. Yeah.
How many years have you been training now?
I started with Muay Thai. So I started Muay Thai when I was about 18 or 19, so 11 years. Yeah, but I was just focusing on Muay Thai at first, and after that I took a short break and I went to boxing. And that's when I met Major at Juggernaut. So he was teaching like Jiu-Jitsu and MMA there. So I did a bit of Jiu-Jitsu there, but I hated it. I just did it for fun. And then while I was
Was
doing
he a purple belt back then when you first met him, or was he a brown still?
I think he was a purple belt.
yeah.
Yeah, he was a purple belt. Yeah, so I did a bit of jiu-jitsu here and there, a bit of wrestling, and Arvin, he just came up to me one day. We were at Mugambos, and he just came up to
Yep,
me.
sounds
He
right.
was- yeah, I was like, because he had his show back then, SFC. I think it was the second show.
I think I fought on that show.
Yeah.
No, I fought on the
I
third or
think-
fourth one. Yeah, I think Ron
The
fought
one-
on the first one, right? Mm.
Yeah, so Arvin came up to me like, yo, you want to fight MMA?
Yeah, yo. It's like, okay.
I was like having my beer. I'm like, when? Like 2 weeks? Like, oh, okay.
2 weeks? 2 weeks?
Yeah, it was like a 2 or 3
Shit.
weeks notice. Yeah.
You went pro straight away?
Yeah, I went pro straight away. I had zero amateur
Didn't
fight.
even have an amateur
Yeah,
fight?
yeah, just
Okay, so
amateur
you have
boxing.
exactly 10 fights because you're 9-1, right?
Yeah, 9
So
months.
that's all you've ever
yeah,
had?
just all I
You
ever
didn't do
had,
any
yeah.
Muay
Zero.
Thai, boxing?
I did Muay Thai and boxing.
Okay,
I was,
so you had some-
yeah, I did amateur boxing and Muay Thai.
Okay, so that's something. Like,
Yeah. But MMA was like my first time doing MMA. Yeah, so yeah, let's do this.
why
Yeah.
not? What's the
Yeah.
worst that can happen? Fucking brain
And
damage.
Yeah, and that's why I went to Major's class. He had to teach me how to like get out of bed positions in like 2 or 3 weeks.
You're like a
Mount Escape.
Yeah, one stripe, 0 stripe white
Yeah,
belt
yeah,
having a
yeah.
pro MMA fight.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a funny story. So I just had Fuck a Fuzz on the podcast last time, and he told me a story about the first time he ever trained MMA, and actually you were in the story.
Oh, I was inside?
Yeah, you were in the story
Where
because
was it?
he told me this story. This was like last week on the podcast. He goes, I was the first time he ever wanted to go into an MMA class. He went to Juggernaut. So he's like, yeah, bro, I walked. It was the old Boat Key one,
Okay.
I think the second floor
Yeah,
one
yeah,
by
the
that
one,
bar
yeah.
that was on the
Yeah,
bottom
yeah,
floor.
yeah.
And I've been to that Juggernaut before as well. And so he's like, yeah, I was gonna walk up in there, and I'm just walking down, and I'm in the bar below, getting ready to go up the stairs, and I just hear whack, 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 and he's like, and so I'm like kind of scared. I walk up the stairs thinking that it's gonna be this big guy,
little Juggernaut.
and it's like you. He's like, it's little Tiffany Teo sitting there like fucking cracking the pad, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't know that. He thought you were gonna be just some fucking huge goon in there, and it's just like, whack, whack, and it's just you kicking the bag.
That's funny.
Yeah, he told that story on my podcast last week. And he was like, yeah, it was you. I was like, oh shit, cool.
Nice.
She's coming on the podcast on the weekend.
Nice.
But yeah, so that's hilarious. So that was your first fight.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was SFC 2.
Yeah, I think it was SFC too. It was the one at I think near Bugis. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not that long
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah,
That
it's
was
like
5 years ago, maybe, right? Yeah, about right.
about there for
5 years. So
Yeah.
5 years, and then you've taken what, around 2 or 3 fights a year since then.
Yeah, about there. So I fought a few. I think I fought like another time in SFC. I think the one that you fought.
You
At
fought on that?
Fujo,
You fought on
Fujo
that card?
building, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were on that card?
Yeah, I was on that.
Shit,
card,
I don't
Yeah.
even remember. Oh, you know what? I do remember that now.
Yeah.
With Will and Luke?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was...
Luke.
Fuck, how do I not remember that? I think, yeah, now that I'm thinking back about it, yeah, you were totally on that card.
Yeah, I think Luke was doing boxing, if I'm not wrong, right? He was doing a boxing bout.
No, I think we would have been, that may have been you SFC3 then.
Oh, the next one.
Will Choate fought on the card that I fought on. Luke Adams fought, was it MMA or boxing, you remember? Yeah, I think it was MMA.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one Emilio fought in the main event.
Oh,
So I think I was the
yeah,
next
yeah.
one, actually.
Okay. I think I didn't fight on that. I was there, but I didn't fight.
Ah,
yeah.
yeah, that
I think it
sounds
was
alright.
after my first fight in one, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, because Major was in my
Yeah.
corner for that fight, and I think you would have said
okay,
something if
okay.
you were there.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so I mean, yeah, you've been doing it for 5 years, I guess.
Yeah,
From
around there.
from
for
first
5.
MMA fight to fighting for a championship.
Yeah, it's quite crazy.
Solid work.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
that's a good day in the office.
That's a funny thing. Like when I first started, I didn't think that far. I just wanted to fight. You know, I just want to fight.
See
I
what's
didn't-
up.
Yeah, I didn't think that I would get a one championship eventually and contend for the title.
So this is something you sort of fell into, and then what? Just realized that you had potential to
pretty
go
much,
further than
yeah.
you even thought maybe you could.
I thought of trying out fighting at first when I first started. So I had my first Muay Thai fight. So back then it was more like, okay, yes. So back then it was more like a tick off my bucket list. So I just wanted to experience how it's like to fight, So I had my first Muay Thai fight and I lost my first fight, and then I was pissed. So I was like, nah, I can do this.
end on that, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I was still with Juggernaut back then. So Arvin was like, oh, you gotta work your hands, and that's how I started boxing. Yeah, so I had my first boxing fight. I won, and I did a few more boxing fight. And back then, I was just walking around at a heavier weight. I think I was like mid 60s. And the girls, yeah, in Asia, they're so small, so tiny. And it was a struggle for me to cut to 52. And there weren't many fights. So when MMA came about, there were more girls. I just decided to do MMA. Yeah.
Got on it right at the right time, right? Because
Yeah, pretty
now
much,
they
yeah.
one adopted the female divisions, and they're
Yeah,
starting to get
it's
quite popular.
starting to
and-
grow.
That's great timing. And then now you find yourself in this position where you're fighting for titles. And
Yeah.
what was your first fight like? Do you remember? Because it's so surreal
Yes,
for me
yeah.
that like what did you think when you actually stepped in there the first time? Were you just kind of like, okay, here we go? Were you nervous? Like
I forgot how to punch, man.
you forgot? Yes, that's classic. That's exactly what happens the
Yeah.
first time you go in.
Yeah, like my first MMA fight. So I had a couple of boxing fights before that. So my first MMA fight, I was rewatching the video after. I was like, dang, I don't know how to box. Like I was like,
Where's all the tech? You just fucking start
yeah, I
winging
was
shit.
just like, Major was like cornering me. He was like, throw the elbows. I was like, super far away. I was trying to elbow from like a meter away, and Major
meter
was
away.
like, Major was like, no, go closer.
Okay, stop elbowing. Stop elbowing.
Yeah, I was like telegraphing my elbow from like super far away.
Yeah,
So that's funny.
it's-
I guess it was just the nerves and just
Yeah.
4-ounce gloves.
That's
But I felt like a
nerve-wracking,
superpower.
right?
Yeah, like when I landed every punch, I was like, dang, that feels good.
Solid.
Yeah, you
That's so
feel
solid.
you feel every punch. Yeah.
What about so? When did you start? Okay, this is another question I ask a lot of people. Like, when did you actually feel comfortable for the first time fighting? Because those first few are just kind of like whatever, right? You don't know what's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
happen.
yeah,
You're just so
yeah.
nervous, stressed
Yeah,
out.
I guess it was my, I think, second or third fight in one championship. It was against Rebecca Heinzman. It was in Singapore. Yeah. So I felt like, I was thinking during the fight. I wasn't just like, just like spazzing out and like just doing random shit. Like I was actually thinking what I'm gonna do next. I had-
Processing what's happening
Yeah,
and
yeah. I was
reacting.
like seeing what's happening and listening to my corner and all. Yeah. So, yeah, that's I think my fourth or fifth MMA fight. I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty surreal. Hey, the first couple times that you get in there.
Yeah, it's just like even after the fight, you're like, oh, fuck, what just happened right there. Yeah.
And then the other thing I always notice is that the pace of the fight is so much different than the pace of the training.
Yeah,
Right?
it is,
Even
it
like
is,
if you
yeah.
only spar, this is what I say to even the guys that come in here. First of all, if you only do jiu-jitsu and you've never done anything else, you don't even really know what combat is, because until you're throwing punches, it's completely different.
With punches, just
And then
different, yeah.
the same rule applies to like boxing or Muay Thai. If you only spar, you don't really know what it's like to fight, because
Yeah,
the pace in they always talk about the fight pace and the fight intensity, because no one in your training is going to come at you as hard as somebody
for
that's
sure,
standing across the ring of you in a fight.
Mm-hmm.
So like the hardest shot you'll probably throw at a training partner is maybe like 60 or 70 if you're going hard. But in a fight, when that first 100% power head kick comes flying at you, you're just like, fuck! And you're like, oh shit, what is this? And you're just like, damn, that would have killed me. And then that's when everything kind of goes, whoo! You're like, if that had hit me, that would have been a problem. You know? What about the first time you got cracked really hard? You have a memory of that? Where you're like,
Yeah, I
damn!
guess it was my first boxing fight. Yeah, I got hit really hard with like a right hand across. Yeah, I remember like seeing stars after the cross landed.
Were you wearing the
Yeah.
headgear, or was it?
Yeah, I was wearing the headgear. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I felt it, but I was like, all right, I can't go down now. So I just like just shut up. Yeah.
Yeah, you get the stars, you get the wobbly legs. you
Yeah,
get-
I just gotta like recover, like find spots to recover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have a lot of like female training partners that you're working with?
I
Mostly
don't
the
train with-
guys.
I only train with guys.
Only train with
honestly.
guys.
Yeah, there's no girls doing MMA in highlight reel.
Yeah.
I mean, once in a while they'll hop into the MMA and they're always too scared to spar with me. Yeah, so it's like mostly guys.
They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't need to be intimidated. I don't understand. Even the last competition, I was like, when Charmaine and you guys were in the same bracket, I was like, "Oh, go say hi to Tiffany." She's like, "No, I don't want to." I'm like, "Why? She's nice. Just go talk to her." I'm like, "You don't have to be like that, man."
Oh yeah, bro, he came to highlight reel a couple of times. Yeah, Deborah's good, man.
I
He's
think the
really
ladies
good,
are just a
yeah.
little intimidated by you, Tiffany.
Yeah, I guess it's like they hardly get a role of like an MMA fighter, like someone who does
Yeah.
it professionally, I guess.
But
Yeah.
you know, again, your nickname is a little confusing, because I think you're pretty chill. You know,
Yeah.
they're probably just like, "Fuck, I don't know if I want to go and roll with her."
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, man. So, what are your thoughts going into the Zhangji non-rematch now? Like, I mean, without spoiling anything. I mean, I don't know how good her English is anyway, but I don't think she's going to see this and like, oh, I learned the secret on the Stronghold podcast. But what are your thoughts going into the rematch? Like,
Yeah, I guess it'll be a very different fight this time around with a different team with me. Yeah, so for the past, 2 to 3 years, I've like Major's approach has been working really well for my past 2 fights. So I don't know, it's really up to Major, man. Pretty much like I feel like Major is playing like a game every time I fight. He's like teaching me all the skills that I need to win the fight, telling me what to do, and I'm just all right. I'll do whatever you tell me, and I'll just put in the work and train.
That's the move. You should listen to your coach. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Because and listening and reacting to exactly what the coach says is extremely important.
Yeah, and the trust too. I feel like it takes time to do that trust.
That's so huge. Because it's like, if you've been training, I mean, you said you've been doing this some aspects of this for 11 years, striking, boxing, Muay Thai. Like at a certain point, when you've trained for years and years and years, everybody knows how to throw a jab. Everybody knows how to throw a cross, a 1-2. Everybody knows how to do an armbar. So like, you might have some techniques that are better than your opponents and vice versa. But really, it's like the tactics of how you get that of how you apply your moves is what takes you to the next level. Because everybody's done so many of these combinations, so many of the times. So coming up with that game plan and then not just intellectually understanding it, but being able to execute it, having it in your muscle memory. So like training that scarf hold escape 1,000 fucking times or whatever it is. Like it's one thing to know, okay, she might put me in a scarf hold. It's another thing to have the reps and the reps and the reps of getting out of it.
And the confidence of knowing that, I've been in this place, I can get out of it.
So when she gets you in there, you're not like, oh shit, I'm in her best position. What do I do now?
Yeah. It's like, I've been here, I know what to do. Yeah. Yeah, it changes the mindset, I guess. Yeah.
When you were at Tiger, did they, was it like, because I know they have a huge gym and a bunch of people.
Yeah, they have a lot of fighters.
Did you feel like you were getting personal attention there, or were you just kind of one of the many?
Kind of, because they knew that I was preparing for a title fight, so I had like sessions with George, and I knew some of the fighters there, like Emelo, I used to train with him in Singapore, so yeah, so they were helping me too. But I guess it's just like that. Like it was my first time there. I haven't been to Tiger prior to that camp, so there was just a lot of understanding how we work and building the bond, the trust, which was like too short for that time frame. Yeah.
And it's also like I'm a huge fan of the one head coach way of operating in MMA fights because you go to your jiu-jitsu coach and you go to your striking coach, then you go to this guy, and then you go, and everybody wants you to use their shit. Everybody wants you to win with their moves. Everybody wants you to like use their style, or they think that you're gonna do this. Like if you're training arm bars with your jiu-jitsu coach, they're probably gonna fucking go tell you to try to armbar Michelle Nicolini, right? Because they want you to use their stuff. But that's why you need the one person that you can trust. And who controls the coaches that train with you.
Everything together.
Yeah, and then you can actually trust the process. But if you have 5 different people telling you what to do, and
it's difficult. Like,
it's difficult,
and especially when it's like conflicting.
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
Like, you want me to do this, you want to do that. So, but it's like conflicting doesn't come together well. Yeah.
Did you feel like it was a big change when you got to Highlight Reel and you had like Major as your head coach?
Yeah, definitely. Like, cause I work with a wrestling coach too. So I don't know if you know him, Dom. Yeah, he used. Yeah, he was in the national team, and I think he competed in like SEA Games, I think, a couple of times. Yeah, and I mainly work with him. I have my SNC coach, a training partner, Kai. He helps me a lot with my striking, and Major, who kind of like just a jiu-jitsu coach and just putting everything together. So the thing is, we are kind of always on the same page. Or whatever I want to do with like individual coaches, I'll let Major know like what we're gonna work on. Even for SNC, because you don't want to like have a fucking hardcore SNC session and you show up to training all drained, and it's like kind of I mean, even if you're gonna do that, you gotta let your coach know so he knows that he's not gonna push you too much in your training.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like there's a lot of communication in that sense, and we kind of we do come together to have like a game plan. So let's say if it's a more wrestling intensive game plan, so I'll tell my SNC coach, this camp I'll be like going for the takedown, so he'll have a plan that helps me to perform better in that aspect. So there's a lot of communication going on, even though I'm working with different coaches.
Smart.
They are kind of like on the same page. Yeah,
that's the move, because I mean you nailed all of the trappings that people tend to get into when they do this thing, right? Like they'll they're doing their sprints and their conditioning that they have wrestling practice or all that kind of stuff. You just can't. First of all, you'll get injured. And second of all, it's just bad for your body to do that kind
Other
of
major
stuff.
would say otherwise, because I have the tendency to overtrain.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll show up to training sometimes, like, all
Charmaine's the
tired.
same way. I try to pull her back all the time. Like, she never takes a day off, and I'm just like, dude, you gotta rest. You gotta rest. She's like, ugh. And she gets FOMO. If she sees anybody like training when she can't, she'll just immediately jump in. I'm like,
It's
no,
addiction.
just sit down, like rest.
It's hard, man.
But I want to punch people too.
Yeah,
You just can't see it and not do it.
yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. And I think I'll tell you what, I'm really interested to see your fight with her. I mean, with Zhang Jingnan. I mean, the thing is, she's a really good boxer, right? So
Yeah.
in that boxing range, it's real tricky. If you can keep her in a
that's a
kickboxing
strength.
range, she can. I think you could do stuff. I mean, for her, you got to fight an MMA fight if you're fighting her.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I
not
think-
get into a fight.
Yeah, that range in particular,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because even when Angela Lee fought her, if she kept her in good ranges, she was doing really, really well. As soon as she was stuck in that boxing range. Actually,
Yeah.
what do you think about that fight? How that fight ended?
The first or the second?
The second one.
The
The
one where she got
suplex.
suplex,
Yeah.
right? I thought it was kind of bullshit, man. The suplex. I mean, it was a
Right?
perfect suplex, but
But it's totally against the rules, right?
yeah, it's the rules, you know.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay, I thought I was the
yeah.
only one that thought that.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, it was perfect and it was a good suplex. It was beautiful, but yeah,
clearly
it's the, yeah.
it was on the head, right?
Yeah,
And
it's a-
and that led directly to the finish. Because and then I think that Zhang Jingnan would have won that fight if
Yeah,
that
because
didn't
I feel
happen.
like in her mind, she'll probably be like, oh, this is illegal. Like maybe she thought that they would stop the
Yeah.
fight right there. So
Yeah, that's
she might
true.
have reacted differently if she knew that it wasn't illegal. That's what I feel.
I don't even think that suplexes should be legal, but if they
Yeah,
are,
but they had the rule.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
so they should
Yes.
just stick to the rule.
And then that's happened like
Yeah.
all the Lees clearly train suplexes all the time, which is weird because Christian did that to.
Yeah, he did
he
that
knocked out
once.
Boku with that shit. Remember?
Yeah, and I think one more fight he did that and he got DQ.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but then in one fight, like in the Boku fight, he straight up knocked him out with a suplex, and then he got the win. And another fight,
It's just,
he
like,
won,
really
and then they went back
conflict,
over and changed it. It's like just make it legal,
Yeah, right.
or ban them
Yeah.
outright. Well, even banning
just
them outright.
stick to it. Like,
One
whatever
way or
they
the
do,
other.
Just stick to it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
they didn't want Angela Lee to lose that fight again.
Yeah, I know. Because that was at atom weight, right? So if she
That was when
lost,
she went down, right?
at her own weight. Yeah.
Oh,
When-
right.
yeah.
That was at her own weight.
So-
That was
so-
when, yeah.
Yeah, when Jingnan went down.
That's right.
Yeah. Because Angela is like the atom weight champ and Jingnan is the strawweight champ. Yeah.
So what do you think about? I mean, you very well may have Angela Lee in your sights someday. What do you think about that? That could be an interesting fight.
Yeah, actually,
Real
I'm-
Singaporean versus fake Singaporean.
Yeah, that's what everyone's saying, right? Yeah. Yeah, so actually that has been a fight that I've always been looking forward to. I mean, I've called it out a few times on social media and all, but I don't know. I just feel like one doesn't want that fight to happen. It's just like too much.
Singapore on
Yeah.
fake Singapore crime. Come on, Chachi, let's do this thing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I want
It
that
would be
fight.
good. It would be
too.
fun. Like
Yeah, it'd be fun,
Like,
yeah.
dude, if they did it at the indoor stadium, like he doesn't like to put Singaporeans to fight each other. I don't know why. Like, I mean, I kind of get that he's trying to build up because the company is based in Singapore, but that would be a fun fight. Like,
Yeah.
there's not going to be like a fucking turf war, people killing each other in the stands.
Yeah,
Like,
I know,
people,
right?
there'd be a lot of people that would just be really stoked to see
Yeah.
two high-level people, kind of from the same place, fighting. Kind of.
Debatable. Yeah.
Kind of.
I don't know. I mean, if that's the issue, I could represent Hawaii. I don't know.
yeah, exactly.
If
You
that's
roll
the
in
issue,
with the Hawaiian
yeah,
flag,
yeah.
dude. That would be fucking hilarious.
Yeah, walk out with like I
Oh
don't know,
my God,
pineapples
Tiffany, you
and
should totally do that. That would be the,
get Major to
that
wear
would
the
be
hat,
the
make
biggest
fun of men,
troll
yeah.
of all time. That would
Yeah.
be
I mean,
so
really, that's
funny.
the issue. I'll do that, man.
Dude.
That's all right. You can represent Singapore. I'll represent Hawaii. Let's do
You know,
this. Make it happen.
The only problem is if you did that, the Singaporean crowd would be extremely confused and they'd be like, "What is
Right.
going
Wait,
on?"
what's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then you'd end up being the heel in your own country. They'd start cheering for her. So what would you think? Like, you think your skills match up with her? I mean, you have common opponents. You both fought
Yeah, I
Zhang
think that'll
Jingnan.
be
You
a-
both fought
yeah.
Michelle.
That'll be a really interesting fight. I feel like I feel like we are both like very MMA style in that sense. Like we are not like specialists in like one particular area. Maybe Angela, she's like more of a grappler, I would say. Yeah, but I feel like there'll be a lot of interesting exchanges. Like scrambles on the ground would be like pretty intense. I feel. Yeah.
One of the reasons why I like watching her fight because
Her scrambles
say what you
and-
want about the Lees, but they fucking
Yeah, she's
get
good,
after
man.
it,
Yeah.
man. They get
Yeah, she's
after it.
good, yeah.
They fight everyone. They fight everywhere.
And they push.
They
it,
push.
their
They're
pace,
grappling,
yeah.
throwing up submissions,
Yeah.
wrestling, strikes, kicks, punches, knees and elbows, and they're exciting to watch.
Yeah, they're fun to watch. Yeah.
They just
Enjoy
get a lot of
watching
shit
them
for that
fight.
Singaporean nonsense.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
feel
only
like
thing that they.
I feel like if they had just represented their home country, I feel like a lot of people would like them more. especially like the Singaporean crowd. I feel like that's what a lot of Singaporeans are giving them shit for. Like, you're not from Singapore and you're trying to be like Singaporean. I think that's the main thing that most people are talking about.
Really
when they come
doubt
about-
it was up to them.
Yeah, I do agree. I don't think they really have a say.
That was a push clearly from Chaudhry and Evolve and all that kind of stuff. But whatever, man. That would be a sick fight. I mean, who else? Is there anyone else on your radar?
No, not really.
I mean, that's
so-
it, right? That's the top of the
Yeah,
division.
I think in the strawweight division, I fought most of them. Like Ayaka was the top contender
Mm-hmm.
before I fought her, and then there was Michelle. Yeah, I guess Michelle and Ayaka will be interesting.
You could, and you could do a
Yeah.
rematch, I guess, too. The fight with
Yeah.
Michelle was close. I mean, you could
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
arguably do that fight again. I mean, there's not
Yeah.
really much upside for you, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they say. So have you gotten any sort of indications on when they're gonna? They'll probably do that fight in Singapore, right? Hometown crowd would make sense.
Because I think she's training at Evolve now too, so it
is
makes
she?
sense. Yeah.
Oh no, more drama.
Yeah.
How much is Evolve gonna push her? That's the question.
I don't know. Yeah. So I think, I feel like it makes sense to be in Singapore. I mean, we are both based in Singapore now. Like, why fly both of us to the country?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can do it
So-
here, and then you guys would both have like fight here. She's training here. If you're here already, the only question is, I mean, when would they even be able to do it? I mean, some people are saying January.
Yeah,
They
Singapore will be
won't.
tricky. Yeah.
December,
but I think
January.
they're having their next event in, I think, Bangkok.
Yeah, they just announced they're
Yeah,
starting
I
it,
think
right?
in July. Yeah.
I mean, they may fly you out to go somewhere else if they need to start
Yeah,
getting these
that's
fights
the,
going.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing though. If you have to fly overseas to fight, it's like that's the quarantine after you come back.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to get quarantined when you get there. And it's not just you, your cornerman too. So you have to fly your cornerman over. You have to get so your cornerman's gonna get quarantined like what 2 weeks there,
Yeah.
and you come back another 2 weeks in Singapore, and it's like 1 month of your life gone.
Yeah. That's
So
not
it's
ideal.
like, yeah, I know. So it's kind of I'm not sure how they're gonna do it. Yeah.
But are you excited to get back into it? I mean, this is the weird thing, right? I mean, you literally can't even prepare. Like, when was the last time you did jiu-jitsu or spar?
Yeah, I know,
It's months.
Yeah, it's like early in the year.
Yeah. I mean, this whole year is just gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's gone just like that.
Staying at home.
I know.
Yeah.
I haven't done anything. I just gained like 6 kilos. I got fat, became a borderline alcoholic. I just did. 82. I'm 82
82.
kilos, but I've got this fucking pudge, dude. I never had like that belly fat that I do now, and here I am drinking
Embrace
away.
it.
Cheers, Tiffany. Thank you for coming on and
Cheers.
enabling me. I appreciate that. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this podcast.
Yeah, I've been wanting to come here. I think the first time when Ron came,
Yeah.
he asked me if I wanted to be on the podcast. I was like, yeah. I think it was like a few months after my fight against Michelle.
Yeah.
It's been like almost a year. I've been trying to
Well,
come.
I think
yeah.
it would have been like I asked you to come on the first. It was when Ron was still at New Fit, and I knew that you were teaching some classes there.
So Ron was telling me about the podcast. I was like, yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah, just get in here and talk, and it's good stuff. Actually, the thing I'm most surprised about is that people are generally pretty cool with just coming and talk. I mean, this is not the most professional setup, right? It's just, most of the time, I'm just sitting here drinking with people and talking, and yeah, we're just having fun. I mean, I've done it with Major a few times and a bunch of coaches. My favorite part about the whole podcast is that there's no one's really like upset about the fact that it's here. It's at Stronghold. It's called Stronghold. I've had people from Juggernaut on. Actually, Rahul's coming on next week.
Oh, nice.
So Rahul's on next week. And then, I've had Major on, the Highlight Reel guys, and then I've had people from Impact, and I've had people from New Fit, and I've had people from all these different gyms, and everybody's just pretty cool about just sitting down and chatting. The podcast wave is coming, man. I'm telling you. In Singapore, it's coming.
Yeah, I'm starting to see more podcasts.
Dude, 4 people that have come on this podcast are starting podcasts now.
Oh, wow.
Ron came on here, started one.
He started one.
Yeah, he started one. He's on his 3rd episode already. Matt Polino, he started a YouTube channel after he came on the podcast. Dr. Alan Chung, Dr. Alan, right? He just sent me a message today. Yeah, he's starting a podcast. And after he came on this podcast. And then Alvin Ung also is talking to me about maybe starting a podcast. That's all in the last 9 months they've come on this podcast. Yeah, that guy's always doing shit.
It's like
man.
writing. It's like SGPJJ open
know.
podcast.
I don't know where he finds the time, dude.
I think he doesn't sleep.
Yeah, I think he does. He seems pretty stressed. I talked to him a couple days ago. I'm like, you need to settle down. You need to just take a little bit more
Calm
time.
down.
Smell the roses, man. So how'd it feel getting your purple belt after your fight?
Yeah, I was surprised by the purple
Yeah?
belt promotion. I knew that Major was trying to promote me, but I
You were
refused to go.
due, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, but I refused to go for promotion.
He just he's like, Tiffany, come, and you're just like, okay, don't show up.
He messaged me. He was like, "Oh, there's promotion happening this weekend at Impact."
Cough, cough. You should probably show up.
Yeah, I replied him, inshallah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was quite funny.
So, but you can't deny him at that situation, right?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
brings you the belt, and
No, the
you
main-
can't be like, no. You just
No, the main main reason was I didn't want to get whipped.
I didn't want to get.
Like whipped. Like,
Oh, that's the only reason.
yeah. Yo, it's brutal, man.
It's brutal,
Yeah,
and some
it's
people are
crazy.
assholes.
Yeah, they tie a knot and like.
Yes.
I was like,
What is that?
You guys are mean.
I know. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, I signed up for that. I didn't sign up to get whipped.
It is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Listen, I hate the thing.
Like,
I try to stop doing it, but my
Yeah,
students
everyone
like
should
made it.
stop doing it.
I totally agree with you. It's like abuse.
Yeah. It is.
And I'm not being a pussy,
100%.
and Tiffany's not being a pussy. It's like, what?
You earn it, you know.
You know how else you earn it? By getting strangled all the time, every day in training. I don't know.
I just refused to go for promotion. I told Major like the only way you're promoting me is if I don't get whipped.
It is hilarious that like you fight professionally, and that's what we were worried about. I get it because I think it's stupid, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I know.
I hate the fucking thing too. I tried for the last promotions to ban it, and then I was like, no guys, we don't need to do it. We don't need to do it. It's fine. We don't need to do it. And
Yeah,
then
right?
sure enough, they all just started, and I'm
She
like,
had like a pizza party after promotion, not getting whipped.
and they were like, well, if we do it anyway, are you gonna get mad? I'm like, well, I'm not gonna tell you can't do it. And they're like, okay, and they just line up, and I'm like, so then I fucking tie my belt. I'm like, start slapping people anyway. They got me. I just went right back into the. I'm a sheep.
Tradition.
Yeah, I'm a sheep. I just went right back into it. I couldn't help myself.
It's fun when you're whipping, I guess, but not when you're on the receiving end.
Yeah. Well, I only had it once, and that was when I got my brown belt, and that was the last time because you don't get it. You don't get it when you're black.
Oh yeah.
So.
I think Mahir get it. He like volunteered to get whipped.
Oh God! Of course he would.
Yeah.
He's he's a glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
I feel like he likes to be whipped. You know, like in his personal life. I feel like he's that type of guy. He probably likes a little bit of BDSM. Oh, yes.
What?
Oh, he came here to do an open mat one day, and he started telling us about he went to get a Brazilian wax. And he was just like, I looked at him, I'm like, Meyer, why are your legs so hairless and like pristine? He's like, oh, bro, I went and I got him waxed. I'm like,
Nice.
I'm like, why? And he's like, oh, because, I think the hair is disgusting. And I'm like, how much did you get waxed? And he's like, all of it. And I'm just like, oh, come on, dude. You're rolling with people. Why do you, your little like baby
guy.
hair. I love him. He's been on the podcast too. Yeah, he comes in here and trains every now and again. But yeah, I love that guy. I love all those guys, man. All of like that crew, Major, my hair, a lot of Leke's black belts and Leke's guys are just really cool to train with, really fun.
Yeah, I've been around the scene for quite a while, right? Like, you came to Singapore in like
2012?
Oh wow, I think that's when I first started boxing. I think, yeah.
I think Major and I came here like the same year, 2012, 2013. We were both purple belts. So we went through the whole thing together. Like, we went through all of our ranks together. And I first met him when he knocked out Bruno Pucci.
Okay, yeah, I was there for that fight.
Yeah, so I was there with Stephen Langdown, and that was how, because I was his coach back then when he was fighting. And then that's how I ended up meeting Major. And pretty sure he was a purple belt back then. So yeah, I guess I've been in the scene. You've been in the scene for a while too, if that's when you started. It was 2012. Yeah, 10
Yeah, but I was
10
doing
years.
more like striking at first. Yeah, yeah. When I first started jiu-jitsu, I hated it so bad.
How do you think the scene has like evolved in the last 10 years? I mean, it's just blown up,
Yeah, it's
right?
grown a lot. Not just the.
Can I get you to talk
jiu-jitsu.
straight in that? I'm just
Alright.
afraid that it's gonna.
Okay.
I'm
Not,
gonna
not
hear.
just the jiu-jitsu scene, even the boxing scene has been growing a lot. Yeah, so back then when I was doing boxing, there weren't a lot of girls doing. Like, I think it was just me, Leona, Fash, and Shiren. So they are like the back in the day, the amateur girls in the national team.
Are you still training?
Leona, she's training, but I think she competed in the last SEA Games. I think she has plans to like to just retire and like just focus on other stuff. Far she trains at what's that place? Spartans.
Oh, I've heard.
Spartans boxing.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, she's a pro boxer now. She turned pro. Yeah, Shiren, she's not training anymore. Yeah. Yeah, so now there's like so many girls doing boxing. There's like amateur boxing fights, like women's invitational. Yeah, back then there's no way you're gonna organize an event like a full female fight card event for boxing. It's probably like maximum 2 or 3 female.
Even still, it
fighters.
would be hard, but
Yeah.
you're getting closer. Like now,
Yeah.
it's so trendy in Singapore, right?
Yeah, and now there's like more pro boxers. Like there's Shahida, there's Kirsty, there's like Samantha. There's a lot of female pro
You
boxers.
get to train with any of them? Like,
No, not really. It's like we're all from different gyms, and I feel like it's just like the focus is different. Yeah, because it's like even if I spar striking with them, there'll be a tendency to like try to go for a takedown
Yeah.
when the opening is
and
there,
also
it's just-
MMA striking
and the
is,
range is different.
so different,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's so different.
MMA striking is totally
Yeah.
because I get a lot of people come in here to ask like, oh, we have Muay Thai, technically Muay Thai classes and boxing classes, but I teach MMA striking. Everything is MMA striking. That's the distance I operate at because that's the most real distance. So like I'm not doing fucking Philly shells and even like pure Thai style. I don't do pure Thai style. Everything is like I don't do that side by style. Some of my students want to, like they want the Thai style pad work. And I trained under Thais for years, so I can give you 10 kicks here, 10 kicks here, punch you in the stomach, knee, like I can do all that shit. It's just not practical. It kills you and it's good cardio and all that kind of stuff. But I care more about like the range being a bit longer, being able to transition into takedowns. I like fighting both styles, like Major does too, southpaw, orthodox. Yeah, but now the scene. I mean, when you would have started, like you said, there was nobody, but now
no goals. Yeah.
I think it's becoming the national sport of Singapore.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
jiu-jitsu. For sure.
Jiu-jitsu.
I think it was in the last SEA Games. Right?
Yeah, they just added it. And also combat sambo they added too.
Oh yeah, sambo it was in.
Because Nasri got gold medal for sambo.
Yeah, Nasri. A couple of the Impact guys competed. I think Nasri, Ashwin, and Gary.
Yeah, that's right. Which is cool because that's basically MMA.
Yeah, with the gi on.
Yeah, which is even cooler because like it gives you a chance to do some interesting stuff, right? It's like those old school pride fights. Where they would do MMA and they could wear the gi, so they'd do like Ezekiel chokes and shit to each other. Plus, then you can do like all kinds of cool throws and everything. You remember the old ones where they would just wear like the little shorts and then only the jacket, only the sambo jacket.
Yeah, it's growing a lot, man. The scene, like in general, combat sports, jiu-jitsu. There's like so many people doing it now.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
How many gyms are there? Like every time I go to a jiu-jitsu competition now, there's always like 3 new schools that I've never heard of.
Popping up, right? Yeah.
There's like when I first came to Singapore, there were like literally 5 purple belts maybe in all of Singapore.
And it's just like what Evolve, JJSG.
Well, when I came to Singapore, I started at Evolve, and there was at Pomo, which was the first gym they ever opened. It was before they opened Orchard OC and all the.
Closed down now, right?
It's closed now, but I think they opened it like 2 years before I got there. And so I was in the early days of Evolve, right? And when I showed up, there was one other purple belt. He was a Brazilian guy. And there was one brown belt. He was a Japanese guy. And that was it. Those are the only high-ranking. That was it. There were a couple blues, but that was fucking it, dude. They would have this like black belt class on the schedule, and you had to be, I think, a 2-stripe blue belt to even go to the class, and 4 people could go. Like that was that was it. And then so there were those few color belts that evolved, and then I knew Major was a purple belt, and then there were a couple other ones. I think Luke Adams was a purple at that point too. I can't remember when he came.
He just came to Singapore, but
yeah, just around that time, maybe a year later. Major was here first for sure.
yeah.
And
Amalo.
yeah, I think maybe even no, my hair was later. He went white to black pretty fast. He told me, but yeah, I mean there was no color belts. Now, like goddamn, there's 100 black belts,
blue, purples, yeah, black belts,
all kinds of
suicide,
Singaporean black belts. Like now, there's a whole probably the whole first generation Singaporean black.
Starting to see like local gyms like with like Carpe Diem, like local guys
The
running
black
the
belt
program.
local, right?
I'm not sure about local black belt, but I know Acres and Amiro, they are running the program mostly. Yeah.
I mean, I've got Sean is one of my brown belts. He's 3 now, right? Yeah, he's 3-stripe brown. I should know. Well, to be fair, I gave him one. We did the seminar, and like we're a Jiu-Jitsu Brotherhood affiliate, and Nick Gregoritis is the head of it, and he's Hodger Gracie's first black belt. So he came in here to do a seminar for us, and he's the one who gave me my black belt. And when we were doing the seminar, like Sean's been training. He's been a brown belt for like 2 years already. I gave him his brown belt back when I was at Trifecta. That's how long ago it was. And then so he came in, and I was like, okay, I'll give him 2 stripes or whatever, because it had been a while. And then, but Nick hadn't rolled with him yet. So then Nick comes in and rolls with him off to the side. And then he literally, like, I'm over here rolling. And then I hear him go, Luke. And I'm like, what? And I'm like in the middle of rolling with somebody. He's like, you didn't tell me how good he was. And I was like, what? And he's like, I'm going to give him more stripes right now. And then he just like on the spot put stripes on him.
While rolling.
Like, damn, while rolling. It's like, you fucking shamed me, bro. I should have given him more stripes. I was trying to be cool, not promote people too fast. Yeah, I know, exactly. I was like, the first day I get my black belt, I don't want to be like, okay, 4 stripes for you, because I don't want to be that guy that promotes people too fast.
Yeah, but it's kind of ambiguous, like when to promote someone. It's kind of like,
I don't want to overstep, and people think that like, oh.
So why is he getting promoted so soon, so fast? Yeah.
But I mean, he's 3 stripes. He'd be a black belt. I mean, he's already a black belt level for sure. And then I know my hair got his. He's Singaporean. And there's all kinds of. I know a couple Evolve guys as well. Mark, he got his black belt. I used to train with him. So I mean, there's this whole generation. There's probably 10.
Yeah, the new batch of like Singaporean black
It's probably about 10, I would say now, something like that. And one girl, right? Constance isn't a black yet, right?
I think she's purple.
Oh, right. Yeah, she just competed at the Worlds last year, right? Are there any? I know there's this Evolve girl, Mei Lin. I know she's at least a 3 or 4 stripe brown. Are there any female black belts yet?
I don't
Singaporeans?
think so. I think brown there's a few. I think that's Audrey
Yeah.
from Gracie Baha. Yeah,
Arlene.
Arlene.
Grace is still purple, I think.
Still purple. Yeah. Yeah, not much, I guess. A lot of purple.
They'll be here in the next, probably next year.
Yeah, a few more years.
And then in
like 1,
a
2
couple years, there'll be a few
yeah.
more. I mean, she's a 2-stripe
Yeah.
purple already. Deborah's already, she needs to keep training. You ever roll with Deborah?
Yeah, I've rolled
Deborah's
with
a
her. Yeah,
fucking beast, dude.
She's good, man.
She's a fucking
Yeah,
beast,
she's so
man.
good, Yeah.
Hip problem right now. I think
Ah.
it's like growth in her hip, like calcium deposit.
Oh,
Yeah, she's got some things. She's been.
So she needs a surgery or
Well,
just
it's
rest it up?
apparently it's congenital. This is the problem. So it's something she's born with, and yeah, BJJ makes it worse.
Causing pain or...
And she's, the doctors told her that she shouldn't train anymore, and I'm telling her, I'm like, Deborah, that's
So our doctors
bullshit.
say.
That's exactly what I said. Thank you. Apparently, Deborah and Charmaine were all like, oh, she can't train anymore, and I'm like, that's horse shit. Okay, well, I'm not saying don't rehab it. I'm not saying don't mitigate it, but yes,
You can work around it.
I told
No, Deborah.
Charmaine, I was like, if you get arthritis in your fingers, are you going to quit playing the piano? If you're a fucking piano player? Like, no, you just,
Yeah.
you do what you got to do, and you
Yeah, just find a way.
find a way.
Yeah.
Damn, you can't stop. Like, Deborah's too fucking good to stop. I mean, dude, I was there when, speaking of Audrey, because she's one of the best females in Singapore, too. Bruno's wife. They were at a competition. We were at KL Copa de Malaysia, I think. And they competed against each other in KL. Man, they had a fucking razor close match. Like, Deborah had her in an armbar from the guard, like fucking dead to rights, dude. If Deborah had actually gone for it, I think she could have got it. But then Audrey managed to escape, and then I think she got a quick guard pass, and it was like, I think she beat her 2-0, but it was something like that 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth second she'd managed to recover the guard and got the 2. I mean, it was that close.
The advantage.
Yeah, no, it was she scored the points,
she got the
but
points.
it was like 1 or 2 seconds, and then I can't remember exactly. I might be wrong. Sorry, Audrey, if I'm wrong. I can't totally remember. But it was something like
the
that.
moment,
And
yeah.
I know that they're 2 of the best in Singapore for sure. So I really hope Deborah sticks it out because she's a beast. Got to get you training with Charmaine one of these days.
Yeah, for sure. And then we can train properly.
Yeah. I told Major, Major was talking for you and for when he was coaching the national team. He was talking to me about getting her to come in because apparently you guys, the national team doesn't have a 48 kg girl. I guess they just forfeit. Yeah.
I know, but I think the national team is like gi. though.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. But she does that. Charmaine does everything. She does gi, no gi, MMA, boxing. She's been doing it.
I used to do gi a lot, but after I started doing MMA, I just kind of stopped doing gi. It just doesn't translate as well. Yeah, and every time after my camp and I go back to doing gi, I hate it.
I know. Yeah.
It's just so different.
It's so
Yeah.
different, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's fun to just kind of do it sometimes, just to roll up and see what's up. But then you'll get those fucking nerds that barambole you and shit like that.
Yeah, I'm like worm gut and shit. I'm like,
yeah,
what the fuck is
and you're like,
this?
this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, if you do that, I can punch you in the face. Those
Exactly. I was like, worm gut, I'll just punch you right here.
yeah, commit both your hands to my lapel and see what happens. Can't block your face, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I'm that same guy. I don't do any of that.
Yeah, but it's still fun. Like, I'll still compete in gi, even though I suck at it.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, just for fun.
Why not,
you know?
right? Because it's again, Major and I were having this conversation, and he was talking about you that you'll compete in all these different things, and he was like he told me about you, but I can tell that you also believe the same thing. He was like, yeah, he goes, yeah, I convinced her to do the no gi and some of the gi competitions because I can't let her think she's this famous fighter now and get too good to just go into these smaller competitions. And he was like, and I was like, I don't think she thinks like that. He's like, no, she doesn't think like that, but I can't let her start thinking like that.
Preventive measures.
Yeah, it's like, I can't let her get too far ahead of herself here. Got to keep her humble. You know what I'm saying? I was like, dude, she doesn't strike me like that at all. He's like, I know, just being careful.
I think I'm just really, really eager to compete. Like, if there's like opportunity to compete, I'll just hop right into it. Yeah, it's just fun. Yeah.
Some people, honestly though, like if they're high level competitors, they're just afraid to go out there and lose.
Yeah, I feel like some
Right.
people they have the fear of losing, so they don't. Yeah, they fear that they might lose in a smaller tournament, and that stops them from competing. I'm like, yeah, most I tap, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna.
Well, we all have the fear of losing.
Yeah.
No one wants to
Yeah.
lose.
Yeah, no one wants to lose.
Like
but
we all get nervous still. Like
Yeah, for
even
sure.
a
like,
jiu-jitsu competition. Like
yeah, I still get
Yeah,
some sort of.
this is what I always try to
nerves,
tell my
yeah.
guys. And the most important thing I always say is like, okay, first of all, 50% of people lose first round. Okay, and second thing is, let's say you lose. No one cares. Like
Yeah,
no
yeah.
one cares.
Yeah.
You care a lot So you think that everybody cares. But, like, dude, the next match starts 30 seconds later, and then everybody's watching that, and then it's just like,
Move on.
yeah, your coaches still love you, your family still loves you, your training partners will still love you. Like,
It's just like you're so centered, like self-centered at that point.
yes. But people get so... Yeah, they're like, everybody knows. Like, everybody saw that. Everybody
Yeah, they
thinks I
saw, but
suck.
they-
Like,
yeah, but they don't care.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, whatever, you know.
it's like, because everybody's also, like,
Yeah.
going through their own little
yeah, they're also
personal
competing, all that,
journey,
yeah.
right? Charmaine's always like that. She always gets super fucking nervous. She gets so amped, and I'm just like, Charmaine's.
I don't want to do it, then he signs me up for it. Then what?
I'm like, it's good for you. She's like, no. And then every competition, she always freaks out. And then as soon as it's over, she's really giddy, and she's just relieved that it's over. And I'm like, yeah, that's the cycle. And then she drinks, and then she's good.
And I guess with jiu-jitsu come and just more chill because it's like, you know, that's the worst thing that happened like that.
How many have you done now?
I'm not getting punched in
Yeah.
the face and, you know.
How many jiu-jitsu tournaments do you think you've done?
So at white belt, I competed a lot at white belt. I think at least, you know, 5 or 6 at white belt and blue belt. I competed in a few Grapple Asia and SGBJ.
Yeah, I think I saw you
2 or
competing
3,
at a few of those.
Yeah, maybe like 4 or 5 at blue belt. Purple belt, the last one at SGBJ Open. Yeah.
Do you think, did you go through a similar experience with the grappling competitions, like with MMA? Did you find that after, excuse me again, after like a few competitions, it got easier? Were you really nervous when you first started competing in jiu-jitsu, just like MMA?
No, not
it's
really.
not the same, right?
It's not
Yeah.
the same because
You went
back
striking
then-
first, though. That's the
Yeah.
move.
Yeah, so that's the difference, you know. Because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm not getting punched in the face.
This is
at most
easy.
I tap. Yeah, like, yeah, at most I tap. I can always tap. I can always like, nah, I'm out, you know. It's like I don't have to get punched in the face and, you know, take all this damage. So that was easier. But I was still nervous. Like for my first jiu-jitsu comp, I did it in Borneo, in Sabah.
Oh yeah, Tacopa de Borneo.
Yeah, so it was a funny story. So I left. So I went to Brunei for a bit to work because. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I was training in Brunei for a bit with I don't know if you know him, Easy Anwar.
He's a brown belt now, right?
Yeah, he's a brown belt now.
I've seen him at the competition. We went and took the old clinch crew to
Yeah, I think
Copa, and I saw them there.
he's with one championship.
Yeah,
now, too.
yeah.
I think one Warrior Series, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. Yeah. So I was training with him and I was in Brunei. So he encouraged me to like do the competition in Sabah. So I just trained for a couple of weeks, and back then I was at the phase where I just hated jiu-jitsu. I'm like, I'm doing it because there's no striking gym in Brunei.
Oh yeah, got
Yeah,
no
so-
other. If you force
Yeah.
me to do it, guess I'll do jiu-jitsu. I have no other
Yeah.
options.
Yeah, so I was forced to do jiu-jitsu. So I was like, all right, might as well get good at this if I'm forced to do it. Yeah, so I started competing and I'm like, it's not that bad. So my first comp, I competed in the absolute division. So there was this freaking huge girl. She's like, at least, she's for sure more than 100 kg. Yeah.
And you did the
so-
absolute.
Yeah, I did the absolute.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'll happen sometimes.
Yeah, because I saw her wearing the white belt and I'm like, is she? Because she didn't compete for any of the division. And I'm like, yeah,
He's
because there's
100
no
kilo, dude.
because there's no divisions for her. So like my first absolute match, she just rolled out like, oh fuck my life.
How'd the match go?
Yeah. So yeah, I was so dumb. I tried to take her down. I have no fucking idea. Of course, I tried to take her
Yeah.
down. I tried to like single leg her. I think.
Hey, I applaud that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't pull guard like a bitch, dude. I'm glad you didn't just pull guard. That's the
Yeah,
move in
so-
a lot of ways. I mean,
Yeah,
if
but
you can do it.
obviously- Yeah, but I couldn't take
Yeah,
her
it's
down,
tough.
so I got
tough
caught.
call.
So I managed to get her in like a triangle, but I couldn't close my guard. I couldn't close the
Yeah, you
triangle.
gotta play open guard.
Yeah.
You try
So I
to
was
triangle her,
just- Yeah, so I was just stuck in like side mount, a weird position, and she just sat on me for like the whole round.
And there's no getting out of that
Yeah,
squeeze,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, so that was my first time competing.
Ever.
Yeah, in jiu-jitsu. Yeah, first
That's a
time
rough
ever,
go.
yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah,
you'll have
yeah.
that. Very first match can be pretty gnarly. I remember my first ever wrestling match was when I was in. Well, no, I guess it was my first ever high school wrestling match, not my first ever wrestling match. Went to this tournament. Fucking first guy I met was jacked. He was ranked like number 3 in the state at that time,
Dang.
and I was just like,
Stressful.
yeah, my friend, dude. I'm just like this little like 16-year-old kid. I'm like, oh, I want to wrestle. You know what I mean? And then I see this fucking guy. He's got a mustache and shit, like just jacked, and I'm just like
Yeah.
this little tiny hairless kid. You know what I mean? I'm like, hello.
I'm just here to
Dude,
for
and
a
this
friendly
guy
match.
just, yeah, exactly. Let's go. And this guy just mangled me, man. He just mangled me so hard, and I was like, I'm probably ready to never do this again for the rest of my life. And then I finally discovered something easy, jiu-jitsu, And then and then
so
after that,
different.
I was like, okay, this is cool. This is way easier. Let me just do this from now on. Like, fuck wrestling. Why would I do that?
It's just this grind with wrestling though. It's a different grind.
Oh, I mean, it's a real grind. I mean, jiu-jitsu can be a grind too. It depends on how you're training it and how you're doing
Yeah,
it.
depending on your style of.
But you can take a lot of breaks. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, you can find spots, in a good
In
position. You can
wrestling,
just chill
there's no
there.
breaks. As soon as you
Scrambles
break,
non-stop,
you're done.
yeah,
If you break,
yeah.
you're giving up position.
Yeah.
So that's a game changer. I mean, I don't even let my students pull guard when we spar. That's the
good.
rule that I have.
Major tries to do that, so.
You guys sneak when his back is turned. You just fucking sit down.
So there was this match. There was this grappling match. Before the match, I was like, Major, I'm gonna pull guard. So I was
How did
like,
he respond to that?
He thought I was just kidding.
That is the correct. Yes.
Yeah, but I pulled guard after that. I just went in fist bump and I sat down. And he was like, what? Yeah, but I was just
I
trolling
love how
him
he
for the
thought
fun
you
of
were
it.
joking. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen. Sometimes if you think that your guard is the best chance that you have to win the fight, I don't mind students pulling guard in competition. I don't want them pulling guard in training.
That's the thing with grappling in Singapore, at least. All the girls pull guard. So it's like, it's either I pull guard first or I have to pass your guard. So sometimes
I
I'm
saw
like,
you sitting down in the no-gi competition.
And I think that's how I lost a point. It's like, because I think I didn't make contact.
Yeah, I think so.
And then
I saw your match, both your matches with the. Yeah, you fought two girls. The girl that Charmaine lost to, and then in the finals.
Fierce
That was in the
Andy,
finals,
yeah,
and then
from
you
Pharma,
fought the other
yeah.
girl too.
Candy, I think.
Yeah, Candy.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, you're pulling guard in those fights. Yeah. Should be-
Sometimes I pull guard because I can.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're playing. Like, dude,
yeah,
you,
it's just a different rule
you have the
set,
right
yeah.
attitude. You're just going in there and you're
Yeah.
trying stuff. I mean, if you're like competing at the Worlds or something, then maybe you have to be very specific about your strategy. But you're just rolling up and trying to see what's up and have a good match. Yeah, Candy beat you 2-0, right? Is it? Yeah, something like that.
It's tough, man. Yeah.
You like had the choke in deep, and I saw her
Yeah.
face like turn purple.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't tap.
Yeah.
And then she fell out of it or something.
Yeah.
And went back into it.
Yeah, I think I just like stayed in like side mode or something. Yeah.
But you were really active. I liked it because you were on the bottom. You were trying a bunch of different stuff. I could tell you were just like, okay, whatever happens, happens. Like,
Yeah, just
Just-
roll
yeah.
with it. Yeah, just have
that's
fun.
the move. That's the
Yeah.
move to take into those competitions because, in the beginning, everybody's always stressed and they're so worried, especially those people that only do BJJ. But you did the right move. You did striking first, so that when you roll up to BJJ, whatever, no problem. Pull hard, no problem. You just roll up, you pull guard, whatever, no problem.
Yeah.
But in training, I'm always a big fan of like takedowns. Like, and if you want to pull guard in the fight in the competition, whatever, then that's cool. Because sometimes that may be the correct strategy. If you're fighting a wrestler or something, why, you give them the chance to score points. We just pull guard and then take that out. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
times where it's the right move, right? Tactically speaking.
Yeah, depending on where you're going.
But in training, most people are just too lazy to wrestle, so then they
Yeah, it's tiring to
they
wrestle,
just sit
right?
down
Yeah,
because they're like,
yeah.
"Fuck that, it's so much work." And I'm like, yeah, I know, but this is the whole thing. Like, if you're a jiu-jitsu person that can't get the fight to the ground, what are we doing?
your jiu-jitsu, yeah.
What are we doing here? Oh, just pull guard. Oh, really? In a fight? In a street fight? Train your takedowns, everybody. Don't let your takedowns get rusty. So what's your favorite thing to do like these days? What's your favorite, like, are you training back when we could train? Was there like, is there any sort of style that you like? Is there a thing that you're playing with at the gym that you find interesting or?
I've been working a lot on my striking and wrestling, I'd say. Yeah, so striking mainly like just getting comfortable in both stances.
You're doing some
working
switch
the
dancing as well?
angles. Yeah.
So you're
yeah.
orthodox normally, right?
Orthodox, yeah.
So you're
yeah.
switching it up?
I've been playing around with it for, I would say, about a year so far, but I haven't feel like proficient enough or like confident enough to use it in fights. I feel like I'm still learning to like create the angles and all, like seeing where are the good spots, the bad spots.
Which leg do you
Still,
shoot with? If you're going to shoot, which leg do you have in front? Is it the left leg or the right?
Usually my left leg.
So you keep the same stance. It's weird. Like,
Because I started with striking first, so that's kind of like my default stance. Yeah, but I know people who start with wrestling first. They have their right leg forward. They are
that's the
dominant.
that's the
Yeah,
default position.
Yeah,
So it was always
yeah.
weird for me. And when I first started training, it was a huge like. It was just obvious when I was going to take down because I would always switch my stance. Because in wrestling, the right
Yeah,
leg is
yeah,
forward, and then
yeah,
later on when I
yeah.
picked up striking, I was right-handed, so they told me to stand with my left leg in front. And then when I started doing MMA, every time I would want to go for a takedown, I would break my stance, so then everybody just knows to fucking sprawl. And then now I do both stances.
Yeah, that's when you can mask.
Yes,
your,
and now you can
when
start.
you take a step.
In the
forward.
beginning, it was a huge hindrance, but now I can trick
Yeah.
people. It's quite
Yeah.
interesting when you can play with both stances.
And you can change stances.
And you get
just
that-
step in, and you clear a lot of distance.
Yeah,
With it,
and you get that left kick to the body. which most of the time is the money kick, right?
Oh, yeah.
If
Yeah,
you,
the open
open
stance,
side,
yeah.
for if you're orthodox, you get the, either if you're fighting the southpaw, you can kick the open side of the body, but even the left kick to the head. Because if you watch like the Thais fight, that's why so many Thais stand southpaw, right? Because they want that left kick to the body, and the left kick to the head, like statistically, is much higher percentage chance of landing than the right kick to the head. But they all
It's just an
yeah,
angle,
because it's
I
the
guess.
angle of the
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
So they all want that power left kick. Like Yotsun Kalai, all those guys all fight southpaw so they can have that left kick to the body. So
Yeah,
there's things like that. Have you played with like any of the new age shit, like any of the, you know, in jiu-jitsu, any of the leg locks, or have you practiced like the calf kicking or the knee kicking or
Oh yeah,
anything like that?
I've been working on the calf kicks. Yeah, and
Have you felt
yeah,
that?
No, I haven't. I'm usually the one doing
That
it.
shit hurts, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god, two of those calf kicks.
It's the
and
nerves, right?
It's the nerves.
I've read out about it.
And it makes you
Yeah, it's the
flat-footed,
nerves that-
so you can't step in, you can't step out.
It messes up your footwork.
I mean, they always say it's the old adage, right? You never be flat-footed. Well, what does
Yeah,
that mean?
stay
If you're on
light.
your toes, your calf is engaged. It allows you to be explosive moving in and moving laterally. As soon as your heel's on the ground, you lose your calf. You don't have any explosive power back and forward. Yeah, a couple of those right in that nerve in between the calf. Dude, but it's dangerous.
Yeah, like just engaging.
Yeah.
Tony, he just...
Kick that calf. Did you see the fights this year have been so good. First of all, did you see today's fight? Oh, bro, I gotta go watch it. The Dustin Poirier
About it,
Dan
though,
Hooker
yeah.
fight was so
I
good.
thought he just Khabib the shit out
Oh,
of him.
so good. I can't even like. It was the best fight of the year. But the one I was going to reference was Did you see the Shane Burgos Josh Emmett fight from last
No, I
week?
haven't. No, I didn't.
There was
watch.
he was doing a really interesting technique because Shane Burgos was doing a lot of inside leg kick, right? And he would use the inside leg kick to set up the calf kick. Because if you think like if you kick me on the inside of the leg to check that, I'm going to turn my knee in, which is going to open up the calf kick.
Opens up
So
the
he
side.
kept going back and forth. He would just like if he could, even if he would throw like a light inside leg kick to the thigh, just to get him to turn his knee in case he checked, and then he'd slam that calf kick in there. And I was like, oh, he's setting it up. He's not just kind of throwing it. Justin Gaethje sets it up too, but he sets it up in the clinch. He'll like pull your head, right? And when he pulls your head, it puts the weight on your front leg, so then you can't lift it to check. So he'll do it from the clinch where he's like so close. He'll just
Yeah, he throws like low kicks like so close.
and he does it off of a pull. So he'll tug the head, he'll get the weight on the front leg, and then when you can't lift it, boom, he'll slam that leg kick in there.
I think he mentioned it in the Joe Rogan podcast. He has been doing it like throughout his wrestling career, like the clinch and like a kind of like a leg sweep,
The
like,
only
like
one-
a kick.
Yeah, he said he's got like this ridiculous bone density. I'm scared to throw him. That's my problem. Because, like, I don't want anybody checking my kicks ever. That shit
thinking you,
hurts,
right?
man. Fuck that. It's the
Yeah.
worst. That is the worst feeling I've ever felt in a fight. That or a really hard liver shot. I don't know which. The liver shot's worse, probably. The liver shot, the sternum punch, and the checking and kicks are probably
Very short sucks.
It's
like,
the
once-
worst.
Once during training.
once only.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
so
my
far only
god, once.
Yeah, but it was against a big guy though. The guy was like 80 kg.
Only
and I almost
once,
went-
Major. You
yeah.
gotta, you gotta check Tiffany's liver. Oh my God, you've only been liver shotted once, dude. When I first started sparring, like when you spar with the more experienced guys, that's what they do to fuck with you. They're just gonna hit you in the liver, get you to overextend it on a cross, boom, right in the liver, right in the liver. It's the worst. It's the single worst feeling in the world.
And stop it. Like no matter how tough you are,
Yeah,
just,
and you're
you
also
have to go
like
down.
aware
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
You know, you get dazed or something, you're kind of out of it, but like that, you're still fully alert and you're just crippled.
Yeah. You
Like,
just can't help
yeah.
it. You're just like, oh, fuck, I'm going down.
It's like the same thing with like someone checks a kick. Like you're totally alert and you're extremely aware of how awful the pain is. So it's like there's no getting out of it. Like you get hit in the button, you fall over, like it's whatever. But when you're like in it and you got to mask it and you're like feel like your leg's about to fall off and you can't
Poker
walk.
face. Yeah.
Do you do those? You been hit with any body shots or any hard stuff in fights? Zhang Jianan's got some body shots. She was throwing some hard ones against Angela
but-
Lee.
Yeah, but the fight against me, she was throwing a lot of overhands. Yeah, her style changed quite a bit. Like she used to like go for a lot of overhands, just wild punches, bum rushing in. I feel like she's more calculative now. Like she's not rushing in as much as she used to when she first started. Yeah, so I could see some changes in the style. Yeah.
She does do a lot of good head, a lot of like body. At least in the Angela Lee fights. I mean, those fights definitely
fights,
would have
right?
made her
Yeah.
grow a lot. 'Cause those 10 rounds, right? You
Yeah.
got a lot of experience.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Do you feel like I mean, what's your opinion on like cage time experience? Do you feel like you know how to navigate the cage better, like spending all that time now, actually in real
Yeah.
fights?
Yeah, I feel like I have better cage control now compared to when I first started. And when I first started, I was so eager to fight. That was partly the reason why I decided to accept the fight on a short notice, the title fight, because I felt like I didn't have an amateur career for MMA. I felt like
That's
I was
crazy. You've
losing
only
out.
had 10 fights. Like you never had any amateur fight. I guess you had the boxing and the kickboxing, but MMA.
But it's still different,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
different for
Yeah.
sure.
So that's why I always felt like I wasn't well equipped with the skills that I need because I didn't have an amateur career. Like I train with people who have an amateur career, and yeah, I see how they progress over the whole span of their amateur career. So I was always eager to fight because I wanted to gain the experience that I lacked because I turned pro for my first MMA fight. Yeah, so thinking back, but I feel like in Asia it's kind of you don't have much of a choice, especially for females. How many amateur MMA fighters are there? Yeah, maybe in US it's kind of different. There's more amateur fighters there.
I mean, I told Charmaine, I was
Yeah.
like, if she ever wants to fight, she should do 50 amateur fights first. I mean,
Yeah, but it's hard to even get the
I
fights
mean,
in.
yeah, especially for like,
Yeah, maybe for Muay Thai and boxing it's okay.
yeah. But then there's the whole risk of that, right? Like if for her, I wouldn't want her to take a Muay Thai fight because I would want her. What makes her good is she does everything. You know, it's similar to you. It's similar to you, right? You have the ability to mix all of these skills together, and that gives you, you know, if you fought a world champion Muay Thai person in a real fight, you could give them problems. If you fought a jiu-jitsu world champion, which you did, then you could give them real problems. But you wouldn't want to fight the jiu-jitsu. Yeah, exactly,
set, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And this
It's a rule set.
is what makes MMA so beautiful, right? This is the benefit of taking a general approach to martial arts, is that you get to dip your toes in all these things. You're not going to be a master, but when the real fight happens and shit gets
You
crazy,
know when to use what you
Yeah.
have to use, the different skills.
and you can strategize. So I mean, the interesting thing about Zhang Jingnan too is I don't know what her grappling is like. She seems like she's got decent defense though. I mean, she fought Angela and didn't get subbed or didn't get like controlled too much.
She's tough though. The armbar looks really like. I was like, damn, I think I would have tapped to that, man. I think.
What about the
It
Japanese
looks-
girl that she fought?
The
She fought twice. Angela did. Remember the
or the Mei Yama-
Yamaguchi?
Angela?
Yeah.
I-
Is she in the same division as you? She's one below, right? Atom weight, one below. That'd be a crazy fight too, because that'd be a good fight for you.
yeah, but man, she's really short. I was.
Did you see her?
Yeah, she's
Did you
really
see her?
short.
You're like, dude, she's
Yeah.
really short.
Yeah.
But those fights were crazy too, man. They both had each other dead to rights. A bunch of.
Yeah, but her last fight against Denise, this up and newcomer, I think she trains at FatX. Denise I can't remember her full name. Yeah, it was a really good fight. It was on the same card as me in Singapore, the last card. Yeah, Denise gave her like a lot of problems.
I saw that fight.
Yeah.
I mean, I catch most of them. I think I saw
Yeah.
that fight. Do you have any?
Yeah.
Who's your favorite fighter?
In one. or
Either
in
way.
general?
I guess who's your favorite like female fighter, and then who are your favorite like male fighters?
I would say Rose. I like her style of fighting. Like even, especially her fight against Jessica. Even though she lost, but I
She
felt
was
like
doing well in that fight until
she
that
was,
point.
yeah, she was like keeping her range and doing some damage to Jessica, and Jessica just couldn't do shit until she just got
I was
taken
pretty
and
bummed out
slapped.
about that too. But
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
slam
right?
was so
Yeah.
crazy though. Like I can't be mad about that. That shit
You
was
can't deny
crazy.
that too.
Like
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll be a good
They're
fight.
doing the rematch, right?
Yeah, they're doing
That's
the
gonna be
rematch. So I'm
good.
looking forward to that. Yeah. Yeah, and Amanda Nunes, man, she's so good. Yeah. Yeah, she is, right? I mean, I don't see any girls who can really,
what about Zhang Weili?
jump
That fight with Joanna was crazy, right?
She's brutal.
Right?
It's like a.
Charmaine loves her. Charmaine loves her.
It's so fucking.
I know. It's like you watch that and you're like, I'm never fighting again. You just watch that and you're like, I'm thinking
Yeah. Yeah, she's tough. She's really tough. Yeah.
about that fight with Joanna. That shit was crazy, right?
Yeah, that was a
Who
a
did you
great
think won that
but
fight?
I thought it was pretty close. Damage wise, with the damage done, I think Zhang really did win that fight. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I know. Joanna's just fuck. I mean, they're both.
She's down though.
She's down.
to
Yeah,
just
she's
bang it out.
down.
Yeah,
She's definitely
yeah.
down. They're both just so tough. That was one of those fights where that's probably the best female fight of all time.
Fight a lot
what's-
of times too.
Name me a better female fight than that.
I got a headache after watching.
I
that
know
fight.
exactly. I
But-
never want to do. It's like there's a few fights where like there's a few fights that are so exciting that you just love it and you're crazy, and then there's a few fights that are so crazy that you're like almost sad because they're so brutal. It's like the Rory McDonald Robbie Lawler fight. Like I watched that. I mean, I was losing my mind because it was so crazy. But then I'm like, man, these guys are fucking actually killing each other. Like, it's like, yay. Oh, stop. Just stop now. Like, yeah, it's too much. You've gone way too much in the other direction.
Never the same again after that.
I mean, Roy, yeah, they both weren't the same after that. You know what's a great old school one? I don't know how much of a fan of boxing you are, but if you watch the Thrill in Manila, I remember, the Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, the second time they fought. The first time was a fight of the century. Joe Frazier hit him with the left hook and won. The second fight was the Thrill in Manila. And that fight, I remember I watched it for the first time as an adult when I was like 24 or something like that. And that was another one of those where I was like, damn, man, like I'm watching these guys hit each other and I'm just like, fuck. This is the one where Muhammad Ali was quitting in the corner. He told his corner to cut the gloves off, right? But then Joe Frazier's corner threw in the towel, and Joe Frazier didn't want to quit. So they're fighting for the title. Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier won the first fight, and then like Muhammad Ali's telling his corner to cut off his gloves, and Joe Frazier's saying, "I don't want to quit," and then his corner throws in the towel, and Muhammad Ali wins the fight. Just going into the last round, and dude, they damn near killed each other, and that's Muhammad Ali has that famous quote. It's something along the lines of. Something along the lines of that's as close to death as a person can get without actually going. I mean, God, you watch that and you're just like, ugh. It's painful to watch. The same thing with that Joanna Zhang Weili fight.
Yeah, that was so painful. Like the strikes and all. Yeah.
Dustin Poirier, Dan Hooker fight. That's another one. Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje. Did you watch?
That, yeah. Tony is too tough for his own good, man. It's like I love Tony. I really love.
Me too.
Tony. Like,
he's crazy. I love him.
Yeah, he's crazy. That's why I love him. Because he's crazy.
So everyone loves him. Because he literally is a whole meme just about how
He just
crazy
don't
he
give
is.
a fucking. Yeah, he don't give a fuck. He just like cut weight and when there's no need, make weight.
Why not?
Just for the fun of it because I want to.
Yeah. But then you see and then you're like, dude,
Yeah.
just save him from himself. Like, save him from himself.
Yeah,
Because I've never seen a person get hit that clean that much.
And still standing.
And not only still standing,
Yeah.
he never got dropped.
Still marching.
He never got dropped
marching
once.
Forward. Yeah.
Like, how is that? That was weird, right?
The last one, right?
Yeah, when he kind of did that, that's when you're like, oh shit, like, yeah, that was like, that's when you're like, okay, dude, just stop it. I can't do it anymore. Wow. Yeah, well, I guess you're gonna have a big 2020 sucks. This is just a wrap. You can scratch this up to being a terrible year already.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like halfway through. It's like still a shit.
Isn't that crazy? Halfway through. And then you see like
It's like 3 months.
in the U.S. it's getting worse. Like it's just
Yeah, everything's like just.
some of these countries they're getting a little bit of a second wave, and then
Yeah, I think New Zealand they had their first imported case after they opened up. I think.
they had one already.
I think like a couple of weeks back, they have their first imported case after they open up.
Well, I saw they just did their first
In Korea.
rugby match because
Oh,
but that was like a couple days ago. They had to go back
Yeah,
down.
but I think they have a couple of second waves, right? Yeah, Hong Kong's pretty chill, it seems.
So I mean, it seems like at least 2020's. I don't know what's going to happen in Singapore. At least, I mean, maybe if you go overseas, but then you have all these other hurdles.
Yeah, but even then, it's like when's the next time we can really travel?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's so crazy in America,
know.
right? I can't imagine being there right
I'm glad
now.
I'm here. Let's just say that I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah.
But I guess 2021, get back to work, and I guess this is the thing too, right? You would want time to prepare. Like we're not even allowed to spar. We're not even allowed to roll. Like
Yeah, like, and I don't know if they like one they're having that event in July. Like, how the fighters going to train at this is like something I
well,
can't wrap my
they're
head
doing
around.
it they're doing one in Thailand and then they have one booked in China, right? Isn't that?
I think the one in China already happened. It's like the One Hero series.
Oh, they did that already in China.
Yeah, I think it's
Oh.
like last week or
Oh wow.
something.
Oh yeah, because I saw the message like, oh, we're back or whatever.
But I think it's like a kind of like the One Warrior series. It's like a closed door event. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they do closed doors. Yeah, because I don't even know like the whole. They would have to get mostly local fighters because you can't bring people in and out, and borders
Yeah,
are
right.
closing, and they're
Yeah.
not going to let people do that.
Yeah.
So it seems like
It's kind of like a risk to travel. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know if
Would you
can
want
make it
to?
back to your country?
Yeah,
Nah, it's
right?
like unless it's Singapore, no, I'm good.
yeah. Why would you either? So
Yeah.
you're probably not going to fight until next year, most likely.
Yeah, I don't see myself fighting anytime soon. Probably next year.
So I guess you get a year to.
But I guess for me it's chill because it's like I fight. I think I fight like once a year, anyways, with or without COVID.
That's a good number, honestly. Like that's a good number. You get a lot of time to skill build, as long as you're not like depending on it for your livelihood. You know, if that's all you're doing, then you need more, I guess. But if you're able to still function and still make your money and everything, and you're not going broke, then yeah, once a year that's good. You get a full 12 months to recover any damage you take.
Prove your skill set.
And then also you get to
Yeah.
appreciate it a bit more. A lot of people get into that grind where they're fighting 3 or 4 times a year. They get burned out, and then you see it in the fights, and then you're taking those shots and over and over again. Don't even give yourself like 6 months to recover.
Yeah, hard shots.
It's not good. I was sitting here. I was talking to I know Arthur. You know Arthur.
Yeah.
He had that fight, and then he.
FMD, right?
Yeah, he got knocked out in that fight, and then he came in here and rolled the next day or like 2 days later. You remember? And I was like, dude, why are you here?
Training to highlight reel.
And he was like, no, dude, I'm good. He was like, I'm not gonna do striking or whatever. Yeah. And he's like, oh no, but I'm not gonna do striking. And I was like, dude, you shouldn't be doing anything.
I should just rest.
Like, you still get impact, and he's wrestling and hitting pads, and like, there's still a thud, right? And like,
especially wrestling.
yeah,
sometimes,
man.
Yeah, hit
Yeah,
backs,
100%.
or like, the way you land.
and like, so I was with him like I was rolling with a baby, and I'm just like feeling really, really easy
Extra
and
careful.
shit. But I was like, dude, just don't.
Just rest.
Just don't. Like, you don't need this. Like, I tried telling him, like, I know what you're. He's like, oh, because you get knocked out and you're
It's
like,
just
you're ready to.
you're so eager
Yes.
to like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also you want to fix the mistakes, right? Like,
Yeah, you just want to improve
Sure.
and like move on.
But-
yeah.
but this is when you need a coach, like Tony, right? Like Tony, you need someone to tell you,
To just rest and stop.
to save you from yourself, right? Even if your intentions are good, that's the job of the coach. Just be like, dude,
Yeah.
gotta listen to me here. Like, save you from yourself and just chill out for a little while.
Interesting guy. He told us a bunch of stories that he.
Oh, Atta.
Yeah, I want to get him on the podcast too. He told us some stories that I can't even say on this podcast without going to jail. Like, I'm just,
Oh
I feel like
wow.
it'd be a sin if I even
It's
said those
intense.
fucking. Yeah, 'cause, I mean, he was a paramedic, and then he's told us some of these stories that he'd get called for just gross shit. I'll tell you after the podcast.
Interesting.
All right, well, why don't we wrap this up? How long have we been going, Charmaine? You have a hour 20. That's perfect. Are you happy, Tiffany? Was this fun?
Yeah, it's
Fun just
and nice
getting
catching
drunk
up.
with me and just talking shit with me and Charmaine.
I'm like awkward and shit.
I mean, in general, yes. In this case, no. All right, everybody. Tiffany, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
I look forward to 2021 when you're fighting Zhang Jingnan and bring the actual ever first real world title to Singapore. There's not one, right? No one's ever won a real combat sports. Well, come on, get the fuck out of here, Charmaine. You're a Singaporean. How dare you? Combat sports, none, right?
No, I don't think. Not that I
No
know
boxing
of.
world
Yeah.
titles, none of that stuff.
Oh, boxing. There's I think
A
there's
real
couple
world
of-
title or like one of these fucking Oceania, like, I'm not shitting on it, right? Because those guys will beat my ass, but it's just like real world title.
That I'm not too sure. I maybe Ridwan. I'm not sure. Muhammad Ridwan. Yeah, he's pretty good. He has a few
I think I saw him fight one time.
Yeah, he's so good. Yeah, he's so good, man.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt that guy would fuck me up in a boxing
Yeah.
match. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
I'm not talking shit, dude. Don't hurt me. That's all right. Let's finish up. Tiffany Teo, thank you so much. I appreciate you. This is the Stronghold Podcast, episode 25. Thank you, everybody.